This is part two. I didn't want to lose my flow, but I had to stop it. It's nearly 11 minutes just for the upload thingy. So, yeah, so I'm onto the subject of like what. Well, I suppose what the cannabis scene was like in the early 90s in provincial towns, you know. But yeah, I had this identity, long hair and all that, and I was at work. I mean, I'd wear work clothes, but I still had all the long hair till it started to fall out. All that sort of stuff. Excuse me, I'm going to have a biscuit. Yes, it's that type of morning. What's your favourite biscuit? Well, if it's not a chocolate biscuit, it's a shortbread. I do like that buttery taste. Yeah. And going back a little bit as well, being a teenager, we didn't have the distractions. You didn't have all the media on tap at the push of a button, the latest songs, more or less the latest films and video, and you didn't have these things, you know, the TikToks and all that of funny cats or, you know, the latest craze. People running along, opening the car door, getting out, running along and all that, which was last year or the year before now, so I don't even know what the latest craze is. But yeah, we didn't have the TikToks and all of that. We had magazines, and we had Top of the Pops once a week. You got your fix of music on the television was once a week for half an hour on a Thursday night. You had radio stations, which you had local radio or national radio, and national radio used to do things like ban certain records, so you'd have to listen to them on local radio, and then national radio would do things as well, like play like the John Peel show. So at night you get things like Half Man, Half Biscuit, and you know, we play like an anarcho punk band, and then, you know, something else as equally obscure and all that. And he played this such a wide range of music as well, but it was a lot of people's introduction into stuff. But that was at night, and then you had a top 40 on a Sunday afternoon, and you know, we had these things. Large cassette players, boom boxes, ghetto blasters, other names for them, Brixton briefcases, and but you know, we called them boom boxes or ghetto blasters. And you go down to Woolworths or Boots and buy a cassette, and then you'd record and stop and start recording where the DJ didn't speak over things, and then you'd listen to it for a few weeks, and then you'd do it again and have another, you know, load of songs. And there was, you know, companies that made these Now records, and even before that I remember having these Top of the Pops records, which were like compilation albums of different songs, different bands. But the music was a much bigger thing, and identifying your tribe, your teenage allegiance was a much bigger thing as well. If you were a rock kid, you weren't allowed to like, you know, it was sort of a holdover from the mods and the rockers of the 60s and 70s, but not quite. And we still had a few characters as well. We had a few teddy boys in town, Ron Elvis and people like that, walked around, you know, with a DA and all that, and you know, but they weren't like, they were, maybe you could say teenagers that hadn't grown up or whatever, but yeah, we had a few people that still stuck to their musical allegiance, you know, or even older later on in life. A few teddy boys, a few old mods, a few old rockers, you know, we had them in town. You never see them really either, apart from if you live down near Porthcawl and the Elvis Festival's on. You know, we had that, and then the geeky kids were just coming in, and it was not cool to be geeky, but you know, computers were just coming in, home computers, you know, were just coming in, and the geeky kids into them, or if you had any sort of hobby. I mean, the big hobby, the one thing all the boys did as teenagers was fish, because it was a town that lived on a river, and a fishing licence up until about 16 was quite cheap, so a lot of us fished. And that was the thing that we did. But yeah, being a teenager then against being a teenager now, I suppose it was easier and more difficult as well. I mean, we didn't have cyberbullying and stuff like that, obviously, which was good. But you had to sort of pick your tribe and pick your allegiances. You couldn't. And it was literally even a question of if you were into a certain type of music or whatever, you couldn't even talk. Or you shouldn't even talk to people that were into a different thing. A bit daft now when you look back on it, it really is, but that's what it was then. And then on a Monday night we had a thing called the Civic Disco, where fair dues to them, it was local police, they organised an under 18s disco, and you started going about 13, 14 and went to about 16, 17 and then started going into pubs. But it was the big event, the Civic, and it only went for about an hour and a half. It seemed a lot longer then. But you go in about 7, you come out about 8:30, I'm sure of it. And that was where you would all meet and promenade and peacock, and that's where you'd all get dressed up in your best, and do your hair, and the girls do their makeup and all the rest of it. And that was on Monday night, and that was what we did. And then coming out, we're going to be out walking up the high street and down, because it was sort of in the centre of town, so people would go off in basically 2 different directions. So yeah, but that was a thing that we had, and it was it was a good thing. It was under 18s. It was always really well attended, and of course it's sort of 15, 16 as well. You'd be sending the oldest looking one of you into the offie, trying to get some tins or whatever to drink before you went in. There was another thing we did as teenagers as well, in school and out of school. We played cards. We knew the card games. We didn't play poker. We didn't really gamble. We played like Chase the Ace and Go Fish, 21, card games like that. We also played an awful lot of stupid, I don't know what you call it, forfeit punishment games, raps or knuckles, especially the boys. You'd have a deck of cards and you'd pick a card, and it was like, 9 of hearts. So a guy would 9 times on the knuckles, and they became very complicated and complex. There was red, you had to draw blood; black, you didn't. Steps, twisties, all sorts. It was, it was an absolutely ludicrous. I mean, teachers used to tell us off. We'd come in after lunch break with them, and your knuckles a bit all red and scabby and bleed. Oh, you're playing that again. And that was before things like Pokemon cards and Pogs and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we all played cards. One lad in our year you did not play cards against, because he was one of the Vietnamese boat people. He was, and he'd spent 2 or 3 months on a boat with nothing but a deck of cards, and he could shuffle like a Las Vegas casino, gangster, shuffle the card, and yeah, he was really good at cards. He didn't play cards against him. And we used to do other things as well. Arm wrestling was a big thing for, there was a phase of that, proving your machismo and all that. So we arm wrestled, and there was 2 kids in the year, and they were, one a quiet, unassuming, averagely built kid, but his dad was a farmer, and he worked on a farm, and he was one of the best arm wrestlers in school, because of course as soon as he finished school he was out there working. And the other one was a lad in a wheelchair, surprisingly, or not surprisingly, and yeah, you didn't sort of arm wrestle him either, because of course he used his arms all day long. But yeah, that was what being a teenager was like in the 80s for me. Oops. So yeah, anyway, hope you've enjoyed this little wander down memory lane, I suppose you could call it. It's a 2-part this morning. Excuse me, I'll see how they upload. Just wanted to get some stuff out there and all that. So yeah, anyway, I will see you all tomorrow. Peace out.